First tonight, a large fire destroying a 12-unit apartment in Miami Township.
Miami Valley fire crews were called to Towering Pine Drive just after 2:30 this afternoon. That's where they found a 3-story apartment building burning. We're told the flames mixed with the strong wind made it tough to put out. Now, fortunately, everyone got out and no injuries were reported. However, fire officials say they're all going to need to find a place to stay.
Especially we're getting closer to the holidays. Everybody's going to be displaced for quite a while in order for them to get this building back up and working.
Now, the chief estimates the fire likely destroyed the entire building. We're told those who live there again are going to have to be placed in a hotel for the night. The cause of the fire remains under investigation.
Now to a problem that has been widespread across Dayton. It's called hooning. It's when people deliberately drive recklessly, and it has become such a big problem that the city has installed speed tables on Gettysburg Avenue. Dominique O'Neill joins us now to explain.
The city has installed multiple speed tables like this in parts of West Dayton to cut down on reckless driving. I requested accident data from the city, and along Gettysburg Avenue from 2015 through May 2022, there have been 1,424 total accidents, 178 accidents on average per year, and 10 fatalities.
We're also installing a concrete barrier up between Free Pike and Salem Avenue. That's where there's been a lot of people doing honing or donuts where they spin around. It's been publicized and it's like people come and watch them, so we're putting that up there to stop that.
So what happens if reckless driving is a big issue in your neighborhood? Coming up at 6:30, I break down the process of what it takes to get speed humps put in your neighborhood.
And Dominique, thanks so much. The search for a missing aircraft in Carlisle is over tonight. Police calling off that search just in the last few hours after it was reported that a glider crashed into a quarry last night. Several emergency crews and law enforcement agencies all responded to help with those rescue efforts. Clara Faith has been covering this incident since last night and is live now from that scene. Clara, how did all of this unfold?
Crews were searching in this water behind me after a witness described seeing a glider go down in this area. Officials informed me that there have been numerous rescue operations on Central Avenue throughout the day. According to the chief fire, Jeremy Lane, their efforts were not a waste of time because they treat every call seriously. There are no missing airplanes in our area, according to local reports from the FAA, and airports are missing person reports from local police. Lane thanks all agencies for their fast response.
Extensive search that's gone on via sonar, air, helicopters, drones, even underwater drones. The radar is so sophisticated that it picked up old vehicles that have been in the water for years.
Officials say they think this call was a misunderstanding.
We're going with the assumption that it may have been some type of a misunderstanding, but at this time we have absolutely no evidence to show that there is actually an aircraft in the water.
The city of Carlisle appreciates all agencies' assistance, and they are just relieved that no one was hurt today. Reporting live in Warren County, Clara Faith, Dayton 24/7 Now News.
Clara, thanks so much. Live look now at the Miami Valley Jail's website. A Yellow Springs doctor has just been arrested and charged with several sex-related crimes. Donald Gronbeck had his medical license suspended earlier this year after allegations emerged. Gronbeck is now charged with forcible rape, sexual battery, sexual imposition, and gross sexual imposition. He's currently being held in the Greene County Jail awaiting a hearing.
Okay, well, the weekend is finally here, and boy, we've been looking forward to this for a long time. Beautiful weather. Maybe our last hurrah in the 70s, it sounds like, huh?
Yeah, nice warm forecast. A big change from where we were earlier this week, too. For right now, we do have some high cirrus clouds across the area. Should be a pretty nice sunset this evening. It also looks like what appears here to be a sundog, which would be a light on either side, kind of a iridescence on either side of the sun. So that's something you'll want to check out this evening. Otherwise, it is very warm out there compared to where we have been, especially. We're sitting at 68, dew points in the lower 30s. So 60s across the board, still sitting at 70 in Salina, 71 in Oxford. Compared to this time yesterday, most of us sitting at least 15 degrees colder in Dayton, 16 degrees colder in Springfield. So heading out to the football game this evening, you'll still need a sweater or a jacket, but definitely improvement from last night. Lower 60s, dropping into the 50s by the end of the game.
Natalie, thanks. A battle over presidential records at Mar-a-Lago continues tonight. Adam is at the Now Desk. What's going on?
So former President Trump is claiming 15 documents that were kept there, including clemency requests, are his personal property. He says they shouldn't be handed back to the federal government. That's the latest from the filing with the Department of Justice. Now, a special master is still reviewing Trump's claims of executive privilege over the roughly 22,000 documents that were seized from his home in August. The sides will work through everything over the coming month, with the special master set to make a determination by the middle of December.
The former White House chief strategist under the Trump administration, Steve Bannon, has just been sentenced to 4 months in prison. He was found guilty of contempt of Congress for refusing to testify or provide documents to the January 6th committee. He's also been ordered to pay a $6,500 fine.
And this thing about I'm above the law is an absolute and total lie. We'll have a very vigorous appeals process. I've got a great legal team, and there'll be multiple areas of appeal.
Bannon won't serve his time right away as his appeal plays out. He is also facing charges in New York. He's accused of defrauding American donations for a privately funded Mexico border wall. That trial begins next month. We're now more than a week into early voting, and we could see a record turnout for a midterm election. Christian Hauser sat down with Hamilton County's top election officials to see what issues, if any, voters have been having.
Whether they're dropping off their ballot in the county drop box here in front of me or heading inside to cast it in person, the Hamilton County Board of Elections says early voting is off to a great start. So far, there have not been any lines to cast a ballot. Director Sherry Poland says Hamilton County saw a record-breaking midterm election with 58% voter turnout in 2018. She says the county's on pace to match or break that number in this election. More than 6,200 people have voted early in person so far, and more than 17,000 people have registered to vote since the May primary. Poland says poll workers are still getting questions from people worried about the election process. The county's work to alleviate those fears.
One is we've been conducting behind the ballot tours for people that just want to come and take a look at the Board of Elections. We give a brief presentation, explain the processes, and then a tour of our facility so they can actually see those processes in action.
Poland says they've done at least 6 election tours, and folks are satisfied with all the layers of security the county has in place. Similar measures are used across the state. Now, the county has also been using social media to highlight how secure the election is. At the Hamilton County Board of Elections, I'm Christian Hauser.
Christian, thanks. A police department near Columbus is struggling to stay afloat and keep its residents safe. The department is looking at a risk of losing more of its officers if a November levy on the ballot doesn't pass. Maria Durant is looking into this issue for us tonight.
The Franklin Township Police Department already took a hit this past summer. They went from 13 full-time police officers down to 8. Now, if a new levy on the ballot doesn't pass this November, the department will be cut in half.
Franklin Township Police Chief Byron Smith hoping voters can restore the police department's staffing. Because of inflation and a failed levy in May, the department has had to cut officers. The chief says if the levy fails, it's the residents who will suffer.
If we only have 4 officers, logically we will only be able to cover one 8-hour shift 5 days a week, which means every day that we're here there'll be 16 hours that we're not able to cover, which will tax the sheriff's office.
Officers cover nearly 7 square miles. The chief says Franklin County deputies will have to pick up the slack. He says that office is already stretched thin. In Franklin Township, I'm Maria Durant.
And with election season now underway, we have resources to help you prepare before heading out to the polls. We've been speaking exclusively with candidates as they travel through the Miami Valley. Also, what you can expect when you head out to vote. You can find all of our election coverage by visiting Dayton247now.com and clicking on the Beyond the Podium heading right there in the news tab.
President Biden highlighting the declining deficit. The U.S. deficit was cut in half for fiscal year 2022. That's the biggest drop in history, and that comes after 2 years of big spending amid the pandemic-spurred economic downturn. It fell to $1.3 trillion from $2.7 trillion. The president says he's building an economy that works for everyone, even the wealthy.
We're going from historically strong economic recovery to a steady and stable growth while reducing the deficit. Building an economy where everyone does well, where the poor have a ladder up, the middle class does well, and the wealthy do very well.
Still, Democrats face potential problems in the midterms. Most polls show inflation and the economy as the voters' top concerns that could favor Republicans.
Well, today is National Mammography Day, and Premier Health is hosting an all-day event to celebrate. Premier Health's mammogram coach is providing screenings all day long. The goal of the day is to act as a reminder to schedule your yearly screening. Mammograms are important since early detection of breast cancer could be the difference between life and death.
So 1 in 8 women, unfortunately, will develop breast cancer. This screening is the most important part of the process because the earlier we catch it, the earlier you're getting treated.
Now, according to the CDC, women 50 to 75 who are at average risk for breast cancer should get a mammogram every other year.
Parents, take note. Doctors are worried about unusually high respiratory illnesses in children. Now, this includes a big uptick of RSV. Many hospitals across the country feeling the strain. The Department of Health and Human Services says roughly 75% of pediatric hospital beds in the U.S. are filled. Now, RSV normally comes as a cold most children get before age 2 and can be a cause for pneumonia in kids.
A mistrial declared in the quadruple murder trial of a Westchester man accused of killing his wife and her family. A closer look at the dramatic conclusion and what's going to happen next.
And it is the final week of the regular season of high school football. We preview the game of the week between Bellbrook and Valley View.
Plus, I'm tracking a very warm weekend. I'll let you know how long the 70s stick around coming up. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
The conclusion and what's going to happen next.
And it is the final week of the regular season of high school football. We preview the game of the week between Bellbrook and Valley View.
Plus, I'm tracking a very warm weekend. I'll let you know how long the 70s stick around coming up. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Rain in Seattle isn't normally newsworthy, but today it is. The city has received barely a drop since June. The rain is expected to quickly improve the air quality, which on Thursday was deemed the worst in the world. Smoke from wildfires made Seattle's air very unhealthy. And we end the week with the sound of geese in Maine migrating for the winter.
For more content like this, follow the National Weather Desk on Instagram.
Well, welcome in. It is week 10, the final week of the regular season. Playoffs are upon us. Matt Digby here talking about this final regular season week of high school football.
Yeah, we have a great matchup to look forward to for our game of the week. It's going to be from the SWBL as Bellbrook taking on Valley View. Now, both these teams have already clinched their respective divisions, so it's a bragging rights to find out who is the king of the entire SWBL. And both these teams already firmly in the playoffs, so there's always that interesting mindset. How much emphasis do you put on tonight's game because you know you do have at least one more game coming up next week? But I feel both the Golden Eagles and the Spartans, they will want to claim the outright SWBL title. I expect an exciting game tonight in Germantown for our game of the week.
A lot of pride there. A lot of pride in some other games, too. What else are we looking at tonight?
There are. Let's take a look at some of the other games we have scheduled for you. Springboro at Miamisburg, a must-win for the Vikings if they want to get into the Region 2 playoffs, and they have a big matchup tonight with the Panthers. We have an outright championship at stake in the Three Rivers Conference as Milton Union is hosting Riverside. Both those teams unbeaten in league play. Greene also trying to get into the playoffs. They have a key OHC matchup against Greenview. Also, CJ taking on Alter. That game is at Bellbrook, and Northridge and Lehman Catholic. Both those teams need to go win tonight for a playoff berth.
All right, Matt. Thanks, Natalie. We'll send it back to you.
Well, a nice evening for some football. Great one, in fact, with above normal temperatures. We made it into the 70s today, so this is a huge difference of where we've been here recently. 72 was our high, 45. Pretty typical where we started out the morning, but we warmed up very nicely for the afternoon, right up to 72 degrees. Now we have a few clouds streaming through the area. Otherwise, we have a very quiet forecast. High pressure is just to our southeast, which is going to keep things calm. We have a southerly wind. And then again, other than a few clouds, we got a really calm forecast. So not as cold tonight. We'll drop into the 40s. By tomorrow afternoon, we'll have highs back up into the mid 70s, falling into the 50s. A little bit more cloud cover Saturday night, early Sunday, and then notice Sunday afternoon, mid 70s, sunshine again. Just a beautiful weekend. Coming up, I'll talk about how long those 70s are going to stick around.
Natalie, thanks. A House committee investigating the Capitol riot has officially sent a subpoena to former President Trump. Adam is at the Now Desk. Any response on if he'll comply?
No, it's still unclear if he will testify, Megan. The committee wants Trump to sit in for a deposition under oath and to provide documents by next month. It's looking at evidence that Trump was at the center of a plot to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Several public hearings have already taken place. The committee's final report should be out in the next few months.
A mistrial has been declared in the quadruple murder trial of a Westchester man accused of killing his wife and her family. David Winter is at the Butler County Courthouse tonight with the dramatic conclusion of the death penalty trial.
It's been 3.5 years since someone walked into a Westchester apartment and killed 4 innocent people. It all came down to today, a few moments at a courthouse just before noon.
The court accepts the jury's conclusion and finds that there is no probability of this jury agreeing.
Jury hung, 11 voting to convict Gurpreet Singh, 1 voting to acquit him. This after 10 days of testimony from 42 witnesses and hundreds of pieces of evidence. Things seemed to go off the rails shortly after the jury got the case Wednesday afternoon. By Thursday morning, they appeared at an impasse. What we did not realize at the time was that there was a major feud brewing between 2 of the jurors, one that wanted to acquit and one that did not. It boiled over last night when both jurors said that they wanted out. The prosecution agreed, saying that they should be replaced with alternates. The defense arguing there should be a mistrial, the defense getting its wish. When we asked the prosecutor whether he plans to retry the defendant, he said, "I have 4 words, yes and hell yes." The prosecutor saying that he believes the judge made errors in this case that could have changed its course, and he plans to ask that judge to recuse himself when this trial restarts. In Hamilton, this is David Winter reporting. Back to you.
All right, thanks so much. A unique sculpture finding a new home at the Waco Air Museum. It's a 7-foot-high metal version of a paper airplane titled I Want to Fly and created by Clint Hansen. Dungan and Lefevre law offices and the National Aviation Heritage Area all donated the sculpture to greet museum visitors.
We're so excited to have it here. The artist really wanted it to stay in Troy, and so we've been trying to coordinate with him a sale so that the sculpture, which represents Troy, could be here in Troy permanently.
And you can now see the sculpture in its permanent home right outside the Waco Air Museum.
All right, here's a live look from our Kettering House Skycam. Beautiful sunset taking place here on a Friday, and a beautiful weekend is upon us. We're on our Watson's Weather patio. It's starting to cool down a little bit, but it still feels really pleasant.
A very nice evening. This time yesterday, my hands were cold.
Yeah.
I had to have a coat on. It feels really good, and that warm up continues on.
Love it.
We got the warmer than normal weather in store for us for this upcoming weekend. We're tracking above normal temperatures, mid-70s through this weekend. In fact, could see some upper 70s, especially by our Monday time frame. So we're going to be over 10 degrees above normal for this time of the year for our high temperatures over these next several days. Now, Wednesday, that's when our next weather maker arrives, and that's when we are expecting to see some rain back in the forecast, which again is much needed. But as we close off the month of October, plan on an above normal temperature trend. This is October 27th to the 31st. Looks like a warmer than normal temperature pattern is going to be upon us. So things are looking good as we head closer into Halloween. Could see some rain in the mix as well. But coming up, I'll have a look at that 7-day forecast with the latest.
Natalie, thanks. Five Rivers Metro Parks is inviting you to make a difference in the community. How you can get involved in cleaning up the parks. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
the Dayton 24/7 Now News app, brought to you by the Jeff Schmidt Auto Group.
Five Rivers Metro Parks inviting you to make a difference. Nathan Edwards shows us how you can volunteer tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow is Make a Difference Day with Five Rivers Metro Parks, and they're going to be out at 18 different sites, including this one down here by the Stillwater River in Dayton, clearing out invasive species, planting trees, cleaning up a little bit, and just getting ready for the winter season. Now, you do have to register online today to come out and help out. And it's super easy to do so. Just go online to metroparks.org, sign up. Tomorrow, make sure you dress for the weather, dress warm. You will be out in the woods in some areas. Bring a water bottle. And of course, this is for people of all ages. So it's a great opportunity to come down today, make a difference, and do something good for your community.
Well, it's really looking great for this upcoming weekend. We are going to be tracking above normal temperatures for us both Saturday and Sunday. I mean, we're going to be about 10 degrees above normal. So starting out tomorrow in the upper 40s, lots of sunshine. We'll have a few more clouds making their way in by the afternoon. On Sunday, we will start out with some cloud cover, lower 50s, but mid, maybe even some upper 70s by our Sunday afternoon. So it's just really looking nice. Lots of sunshine both days. So if you have any fall activities that you want to do this weekend, it's looking really good. Now, mid 70s continue through Tuesday. Wednesday, that's our next weather maker, will bring us our next best chance for rain. I've been mentioning it for a while. Very necessary at this point. So we will hope for whatever we can get on Wednesday with that storm system as it pushes its way through. It does have some cooler air with it, dropping our highs back into the mid 60s. Which will be close to normal. Yeah, but what we typically see this time of the year. But it's been a little bit of a ride this week for sure.
Yeah, it really has.
Right.
Looking forward to the weekend. All right, Natalie, thanks. Thank you for being with us tonight. Remember, you can always connect with us on social media. We're headed over to Fox.